Welcome back to another Fortnite tips and tricks video. This was about an experiment I did where I landed hot at boss locations during tournaments to see what would happen. Hope you enjoy. Now this was recorded during round 1 of the PlayStation Cup, which you had to be in bronze rank or higher in order to compete in and be on a PlayStation as well. So do keep in mind that landing at hot boss locations like this in higher ranked tournaments may be completely different. So anyways, let's just get right into this. So the very first game, this tournament, I decided to drop right at the underworld to go for Hades and his medallion. And to my surprise, literally nobody landed here. So I was really shocked by this. Like I was able to loot every single god chest in this place. You can tell by my loot here. Was able to fight the boss, kill all his minions, kill him, get the medallion, and get the mythic SMG. And not a single person showed up to contest me at all while I was doing this, which is a big change from when I normally land here in like just regular pub matches. There's usually quite a few people who would show up here. Going into this, I was really expecting this location to be pretty crazy to drop at in a tournament, as Hades' medallion gives Siphon, which is a really popular perk or buff amongst tournament players, especially. You always hear them talking about it. I ended up placing 37th, always scored 3 points in my first game, so it was now on to game 2. And in game 2, I decided to land again at the underworld to go fight Hades to see if this time it would be any different. And again, the second time landing here, I literally had the entire POI to myself. I was able to go loot every single god chest and then start the fight with Hades and his minions, and not a single person, yet again, showed up to try to stop me from doing this. Now this time during the fight, Hades and his goons ended up frying my health down pretty good. I even had enough time to disengage from the boss fight and go search the underworld in order to heal back up and then come back to then finish defeating Hades. And again, during all this time, I did not see a single other player at this location, which was just shocking. By the time I finally did bump into an enemy player, I was near fencing fields and there was only like 20 players left. I ended up making it all the way over near Zeus's biome, but this was near the end of the game. There's only 11 people left at this point. Got into a build fight with this player here and ended up losing it. I'm not very good at builds, but I ended up coming in 11th, and that was the end of game 2, and then it was on to game 3. So in game 3, again, I decided to land at the underworld just for one last time to see if I could finally bump into somebody. And finally, this time, there was actually 2 other players who decided to land here. It was about damn time. Even in regular public matches, there's usually more than 2 people that land at the underworld. So I ended up trying to third party a fight with the lightning bolt here, and then I ended up running out of ammo after shooting at somebody, and while I was reloading, a sweaty aura skin popped out around the corner and one pumped me in the face with a shotgun. GG's. And now it was on to game 4, and it's time to land somewhere else. So now at this point I'm thinking, are people just afraid to land at boss locations and tournaments because they're too worried about losing any points and there'll be too many sweats there? So I decided to land at Mount Olympus this time to see what would happen. And as you see, there was already one person down to the right at the beginning of this fly-in that I seen gliding down, and there's this other guy gliding in up near the statue, but it almost looks like he might have went over to Brawler's Battleground or that other factory POI near it. So I ended up landing on top of this building over here and ended up finding a stealthy spawner DMR. So I quickly jumped up onto the roof, pulled it out just to check to see if I could maybe get a few shots off on this guy if he landed on the hill, which he did not. Now it's time to go and loot the entire POI without, again, nobody contesting me or trying to stop me. Now, during this fight with Zeus, I ended up taking quite a bit of damage from him. I think he hit me with the lightning bolt, maybe his goons kind of ganged up on me. But again, I had more than enough time to disengage from the fight and run in order to find heals and heal up, which is also very surprising. Usually in public matches, this spot is very contested with people constantly trying to third party. After healing up, I did notice some footsteps and finally another player showed up. I picked a fight with them, and unlucky for me, he ends up winning it with 5 health, and that was GG, and it was on to game 5. So game 5, I also decided to land again at Mount Olympus just to see what would happen this time, and The skies were clear, and the place seemed like it was a complete ghost town. So I landed, didn't see anybody, didn't hear any footprints, but while I was looting up, all of a sudden somebody else ended up starting the boss fight with Zeus. So I snuck up all sneaky like with my auto shotgun and got a few good shots off on him, but unfortunately he was able to escape by the nick of his teeth with his wings. So I just chilled out for a little bit to see what would happen. And all of a sudden I heard another player coming. I thought it was the same player I was fighting earlier, and I went to jump down onto a lower platform and it was water. Big mistake, tried to build up and got taken out by another player, and it was GG's. And with that, we were on to game 6. Now, Fortnite ended up crashing, so I wasn't able to save that footage, so I had to use replay mode in order to acquire it. Anyways, let's get into her. So on game 6, I ended up trying to land at Grimm's Gate this time, and now you can see the little map in the bottom right corner, so this is actually kind of interesting because you can see where players are and how many players are there. And now it looks like there was one player who was coming with me. You see them in the pink triangle down the bottom right corner, but they ended up actually veering off and going somewhere around the outskirts. So again, in a tournament, I was able to land at one of the hottest POIs, completely uncontested, loot every single god chest, and then start the fight with the boss. Quickly ran back and got to cover, and started taking out the wolves, which I was able to do so very easily, and not a single person showed up. I didn't see any footprints or hear sound the entire time I was fighting all of Cerberus's wolves. Now it was time to take on Cerberus himself. I ended up hiding back in this little hallway area here, so I could use it for cover, and just kept taking a right corner peek and shooting him with everything I had in my arsenal until he was defeated. Again, it's extremely easy to do, and not a single person showed up while I was fighting him either. But naturally, as soon as I grabbed the medallion, grabbed the shotgun, and was healing up, there was already somebody on the way now that I had defeated the boss, because that's just what people like to do. They like to let you kill the boss and they don't want to do it themselves. You can tell, as you can see, the yellow triangle coming towards me, the bottom right mini map there. So I ended up juking this guy out, had a couple shots on him here, then it fell down behind him, and he was jumping up, and I ended up frying him with the shotgun. And that was GG's. But then unfortunately for me, I went up here and searched this chest. I was kind of greedy with my heals, went to use those flow berries, and ended up getting fried by somebody somewhere else. And now it was on to game 7. So for game 7, I decided once again that I would be landing at Grimm's Gate, just to see if I bumped into anybody. And now this time I did see an indicator that I had at least one other player kind of near me flying in with their glider. But I didn't really see where they were or anything else until now that I see there was a couple more indicators. So I was trying to go for the chest at the very top of these buildings here at Grimm Gate, and I realized I was not going to make that chest. So since it was a tournament, I decided to play a smart, so you know what, that guy can have that chest. I'm out of here, so I veered off towards this Minotaur head over here just to get some loot, and I was getting shot at. So I just had to dip again. So I ended up just going to Charles Crossing. That player never bothered chasing me. And this was actually one of the longer games and better games of the tournament I had. And with that, we're just going to skip over to Game 8. And in Game 8, I decided it was time to finally land at Brawler's Battlegrounds. So now in this fly-in, you see that there was one other player flying there with me. But it seemed although that they decided to go more over towards Mount Olympus instead of Brawler's Battlegrounds. And yet again, I wasn't surprised this time, but I was able to land at Brawler's Battlegrounds without anybody coming with me, trying to contest me or stop me, loot the entire POI, and start the boss fight with Ares with no issues. But while I was in the middle of defeating Ares' guards, I did notice that there was a set of wings on my screen, so I knew I had a real player coming. And this guy decided it was a good idea to throw lightning at me, and it wasn't a good idea for him, and he got sent back to the lobby. So after that little encounter there, I ended up healing up a little bit, and then went back and continued the boss fight with Ares, defeated him, and then left the POI with the medallion and mythic assault rifle, and continued to my tournament game. And then it was on to Game 9. Now, this time I think I was very lucky to even get a Game 9, because I didn't think I was going to, but I did end up getting one final match. And in this game, I decided once again to land at Brawler's Battlegrounds. Now, this time I did see quite a few people around me flying in towards this location. Like you can see the person down there on the TNT, Tina's Kaboom glider. I had a few other glider indicators around me as well. So I landed without any issues and ended up looting a couple chests and healing up a little bit, and then I realized I had another player there with me. So I ended up hiding and getting the jump on them and took a 50-50 and ended up winning it. But that was the only person trying to contest me. So I ended up searching the POI, found some more heals, and then began the boss fight with Ares. There were zero signs of any other players during the entire time I was fighting all of Ares' guards, and while I was fighting Ares himself. But naturally, because this is Fortnite, as soon as I defeated Ares, other players showed up immediately to third party me, and it was GG, and that was my final game of the tournament. And so now my final thoughts and my conclusions on this little experiment I did here. Should you land at a hot boss location during a tournament? I'm going to have to say that maybe yes, you should actually give it a try. Now, just remember, your results could be completely different than mine were, but if you're a person who's not doing well in tournaments as it is anyway, hiding and landing on like the edges of the map and not getting very good loot, maybe you should try and actually land at these locations, because as you can see here, a lot of times nobody even bothered to show up to these spots at all, and it might give you a higher chance of winning. But if you have a strategy that works for you, then I advise you just stick to that. Now, in this particular tournament, only the top 50 players from round 1 and round 2 go on to the final round where they can earn money, so you would have had to score at least 121 or 122 points in order to qualify. Do let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments below, and if you think you would like to see another similar video, but where I land on different spots of the map that are not as popular or hot as boss locations during tournaments to see what would happen. Now, I'm Big Papa Smurf 187. Thanks for tuning in. Please comment, like, and subscribe if this video helped you out. And I'll catch y'all on the next one.